Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of BIM Pure Live. I am your host, Nicolas Catelier. I am the founder of BIM Pure, an architect and a BIM specialist. Thank you very much for joining live today on January 15. So if you're watching live, you can type in the chat where you are watching from. We'll first say thank you to our sponsors of the week, which is Bird Tools. Bird Tools are developing amazing plugins for Revit with a mix of free and paid. You can see a preview of some of the tools in there. So they're sponsoring the next 5 episodes, and each time we're going to showcase a different one. The first one in the series is Tag Alignment Tools, which allows you to set up your tags in Revit and make them consistent. So you can see in this case, we have a bunch of tags in this Revit view, and they are pretty disorganized with different angles and different position and different orientation. In this case, we open the Align Tag Automatically tool by Bird Tools. And in here, you can switch the angle to the one you prefer. That's for the elbow. You can change the justification value. You can keep the selection or switch it. And then you can pick between one of these 4 options from bottom to top, from top left, top right, bottom left, and so on. And then you click on proceed, and you must select all the tags that you want to be affected by it. And you click on finish, and you click, and you can see that all the tags are removed automatically. You can click to change the position. So I've spent so much time trying to manually adjust tags and text annotation that this is a pretty helpful tool. And you have the annotation dashboard where you can adjust the settings for these tags, to which you have set the text alignment tool. And you can see you can switch the landing distance, the elbow arrowhead distance. And there's a feature called dynamic tagging, which whenever you place a new tag, if it is active, it will automatically keep the angle that has been set in the options. So that is Bird Tools, the tag alignment tool. You can learn more at birdtools-developers.com. We're thrilled that Bird Tools are sponsoring this season of BIM Pure Live. Thank you very much. And the next episode of BIM Pure Live is going to be 2 weeks away from now. Which date is that? That's on the 29th. So January 29th, also at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's going to be with Alfonso Monedero, which is the design technology specialist at Etherwick in London. Alfonso is going to talk about BIM and digital transformation at Etherwick. This is inspired by a talk that he gave at AU and the Build conference. I saw it. It was amazing. So plenty of actionable lessons to learn from the talk. Okay, something else to mention. This is Kickstart 5, a brand new newsletter that we've launched this week, actually. So I've been collecting emails for a long time, for almost 10 years now. But it was always sent in a somewhat inconsistent way. And now with Kickstart 5, every Monday morning, you receive 5 interesting things in the world of BIM, architecture, design, technology, AEC tech. Every Monday morning, 5 things in your email box. This is a short and sweet email. To join this list, you can go to bimpure.com/kickstart5. All right. Today's guest is Carl Veillette. He's based in my hood. He's also from Quebec City. He's based in Lévis, to be more accurate, across the river. He is the CPO at Newforma, and he has been since 2022. Previously used to work at BIM One, where he co-created the tool called BIM Track. And BIM One was acquired by Newforma in 2021. And there's been many changes since then. So let's welcome Carl.
Hey,
How are you?
Nick. Good, and you?
Pretty good.
Thanks
All
for
right.
sending an invite over. As you said, we're in the same hood, but we're kind
Exactly.
of like
Yeah.
far away in a sense, right?
Yeah. yeah. That's right. There's plenty of traffic between us, so it's fun
Yeah.
to have someone else from the same city. All
Great.
right. Can you tell me the story? We'll get to the new products soon, but what is the story of BIM Track? So that's how you got started.
Yeah. So the story it's interesting, right? Because I come from the field, so I was working as a consultant for quite some time as BIM1 Consulting when we created the company. And then there is this one project, the Quebec City Airport. We're acting as what some call primary BIM manager. So we were kind of like working for the owner and defining requirements, things like that. And we were doing some extensive 3D coordination, with clash detection, things like that. And the process was back then, it was in 2016, 2015 even, right? And then the process was very chaotic and we were having issues, following up on coordination meetings and action items in between and all that logistic, right? And we said, there must be a better way of doing that. And then we started creating what was called for many years BIM Track, which is now Newforma Konekt. So that's really where the platform was born, out of the needs of the project team. So we're working with GLCRM, which is an architecture firm here in Quebec, and then SNC Lavalin, and then Stantec, on that project. And Pomerleau also was involved as a general contractor. So pretty interesting turnaround of events. We launched the platform a year after the project because it was successful and the people on the project loved it. And very quickly we scaled and we had customers in the UK and France as a starting point, and then it continued to grow in the US and Australia. So we then became global within a year. So that was really interesting. The SaaS model, being able to deploy your platform in a few clicks around the globe. So and then the platform continued to grow until we got to the acquisition in 2021. So we were pretty happy to join the Newforma family because we feel we share the same DNA really. So that's kind of I'll say a match made in heaven because Newforma was a provider of on-prem project information management solution for what is we're celebrating 20 years. We're celebrating 20 years last year. So for many years we were providing those solutions on-prem, but we needed to turn our on-prem solution into a cloud solution, and that's really part of the reason why BIM Track was acquired, and we took the BIM Track foundations and grew that in other aspects of the project, and always with the same, as I said, DNA in mind, with connectivity and then connecting people, project, processes, and technology through a connector strategy. So that's how we acquired the platform, and now I'm as you mentioned, CPO at Newforma. So I lead the vision and the strategy for Project Center, and also what's now called Newforma Konekt, which is a rebrand of the BIM Track platform.
So, what was the biggest challenge in when you were growing BIM Track initially? Was it marketing? Was it improving the product? What has been the biggest challenge in growing it to the point that it was before it was acquired?
Yeah, I think there's been many challenges at the very early beginning. I think cash flow, like any startup, is always an issue, right? Because you've got the contracts, people are paying, but you've got account receivables, right? You've got customers holding thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of money sometimes, right? So you need the cash flow in between. So I think that was the early stage, but we got investors that joined the group right at the beginning. Those are no longer investors, but they were very useful in the first place to help us grow. Finding the right people, I think that's always, a good company is always successful because of its people in my mind. So just finding the right people to join and willing to embark on the adventure and the journey, right? So hardworking people, and I will, I guess, be forever grateful of the people who joined and are still, working in the company, and that made it a great success. So.
Can you just tell me the story of the Newforma acquisition? How did it happen? Like, were you actively looking to sell, and there were multiple offers, and how did you end up specifically with Newforma?
Yeah, so like you're an entrepreneur, and then you want things to grow always faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
and there's a point in time where you can grow faster, right? So you can grow faster without having more uh, funding behind and those sort of things. So um, I think we were looking really to grow faster, and we saw opportunities in the market that we needed to seize, very quickly. So that's the reason why we went on the market, and we searched for a bigger family to join so that we can have the power to achieve our vision, right? So that's kind of like, how this happened. So we hired Deloitte as a broker, and they put us on the market. We reach out to a few hundred companies, and then we found a kind of a we had a connection with Newforma, a special connection because of where we're coming from
They're a
and how
Canadian
we're
company,
approaching.
right?
So Newforma was actually a Manchester-based,
Oh, okay.
not Manchester UK, but Manchester US company.
Okay.
So the company was founded in 2004. Well, registered in 2003. Operations started in 2004. And seven co-founders of Newforma back then actually came from different places. Some came from Autodesk, and they were looking to do things differently. And then some were more from a financial background. But it's a great story. Like, the company basically created a new space, a new category of software called Project Information Management (PIM). Right. So
Yeah, I know that one of the email that I received from you, we're gonna talk about PIM,
yeah, PIM.
PIM.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that? Like, I might have heard it somewhere. So I guess you're gonna explain that today. But that was something that I was curious about.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I guess PIM has been reused, well, or I guess PIM has evolved to mean different things for different people. But we were actually the ones coming up with the
Oh, really?
acronym back then. So I guess just to explain a little bit what PIM is. Well, project information management, I think it's something we can all relate to because we have to manage information on our projects, right? And um, I think information, if you're a BIM user, it might be the information locked into your BIM file, right? A lot of people have been talking about freeing data from files, formats, and those sort of things these days, right? With the initiative around the newest IFC schema, for instance, or platforms like Dynamo that are very much data centric, right? So BIM is a subset of that information, just like any other piece of information on the project. I like to think about project communications like emails or decisions made in team about the design of a project. This is all information, all the way to contracts. Contracts are part of the project information, right? So the way that we look at information on projects is holistic, right? So we look at all of those things, and we're looking to surface information and store everything into a complete project record. A lot of our customers are actually using our products to create those complete project records. So we're not trying to replace the tools that people use, but instead we're connecting with those tools. So that's a very different approach we're taking than other software that are trying to be the single source of truth. So we don't pretend to be that, but we're creating visibility, and we're recording information as it flows through our system and our connectors with our purpose-built connectors for the EAC industry, right? So we've got connectors with ERP systems, BIM softwares, CAD softwares, VR softwares, EDMS platforms, or some call it file management or document management, right? We connect with your file server, we connect with Microsoft Teams. So we got this wide spectrum, this net that we cast on the project that makes the project, the information flow more easily, right? So this is like project information and management in a nutshell. But really, like, I did talk about, who's Newforma, right? So we have offices in 8 different locations in the world, right? We've got 290 employees, and we managed to grow that project information management category because a lot of people actually feel the pain of managing information on their projects, right? Information is spread in multiple silos and different solutions that they use. People are reluctant on centralizing everything on one platform. So instead, they'd like to use the tools that are best fit for what they have to do, right? So we make that possible through those connectors. So I'll give some examples of how this information can flow. But so we actually have three different products. We have Project Center, which is our on-prem projects information management solution. Newforma Konekt, which is our SaaS offering, and Newforma Constructex, which is our construction management solution.
And are you
So
specifically just working on the Connect one, or are you working in a lot with your other teams, or how
so
does that work, the integration?
yeah, so I manage our three products. Our three products have different types of connectors, but they all strongly rely on the connector to deliver value for our clients. So as an example, probably our most successful connector is the connector we have with Procore, right? So among those customers I have on screen, we've got 71 of the top 100 architecture firms, 212 of the top 500 engineering firms. The way that they use our Procore connector is quite simple, right? So those design firms have to interact with contractors working in Procore. So we're not a Procore, right? So what we do is we ensure that the information gets to them as fast as possible and gets back to the GC, right? So we're enabling the collaboration to happen in there. The way we do that is we manage RFIs and submittals, for instance, for those design firms. So those design firms, they don't want to go inside Procore, have to interact with, and provide answers and collaborate within Procore because they need a separate set of credentials. They lose time, context switching between platforms. And at the end of the project, if the access is revoked for them, you also want their project archives to be complete and have information that they can use if there's a lawsuit coming up at the end. So we provide that record for them. So our finance and submittals come in, architecture firms, often the lead designer on the project, they collaborate around those RFIs with their consultants that they hire, so they can forward that RFI to them. The answer is coming back. So once they're done doing their back and forth inside our platform, then they can decide, okay, this is the official answer I want to send to the GC. The GC gets the answer, but they don't get all the details that happened behind the scenes. But the architecture firm, which is the lead consultant, might want to have that record of communications that happen within their team and with their consultant, recorded somewhere in case there's a lawsuit. So that's one of the use case and how we manage information through our connector we built with Procore, and that's a very specific use case for that. We do the same thing with BIM, with issue tracking, right? So we connect multiple different software together, sometimes even creating interoperability within the same software. So someone working in Revit 2021 can collaborate with someone that's working in a model in Revit 2024, and they can exchange issues and see the same issues across different versions of the same platform, right? So that's workflow connectors we create sometimes like that, and all those issues get captured, and you can report on that in our platform. So I like to say we're kind of living in the middle of those three things: project management, information management, and building information management, right? So at the center of that, we create value by creating transparency on where things are at, and where we have organized information. We index everything so we can make it searchable. So a lot of customers like our search capabilities, which are pretty unique in the industry. Like I haven't seen anything like that. So we index, when you're filing emails in our system, for instance, we index the content of those emails, including attachment and the content of attachment. So if you've got a DWG file or DGM file, with our on-prem solutions, we're even indexing IFC files, which are BIM files. And then when you search for something, it finds more results than when you're searching in your Outlook inbox, because it actually searched in the content of those native file formats. So I like to crack jokes. We're a Google of construction sometimes, like we're Google search of construction projects, because we can surface any information you're looking for as soon as it's connected with our system.
What is the biggest difference between Newforma Konekt and ACC in this case? Like I see some RFI and submittals, file management, or archives. I guess these are some of what ACC can do for the design professional. So would you say, are you competing, or it's kind of it can be a supplement to ACC?
Yeah, so I'll just start with a statement, because like we don't feel like we're directly competing with ACC. Of course, there's overlap on certain functionalities, but most of our customers use both platform at the same time.
Hmm.
So I think that the biggest differentiator there is the the indexing functionalities we have do not exist in ACC. So when you search for something, you're searching through a list of R files or you're searching through a list of submittals. There is no federated search across all the project activities. And there is no search beyond their system, right? So into other connectors. So for instance, if you connect your SharePoint with Connect, we're searching into SharePoint and we're also searching into the data that flows through Connect. So ACC doesn't have those indexing functionalities, and it doesn't search deep inside the file content, right? So that's the unmatched search capabilities we provide, and then beyond that, we have a lot of workflow connectors we build ourselves. So Autodesk Construction Cloud has a marketplace where you add connectors, for instance, right? And those are surface level connectors. They're not uh, purpose built for specific like more advanced workflows. Like for instance, if you're looking for at a connector with Procore, Autodesk's not going to provide that because they're kind of like fighting head to head against Procore for the construction management kind of space, right? So a lot of our customers rely on us for creating the complete project record, audit trails, history, the way we capture all the information that flows and record everything is very useful for them for again like preventing lawsuits and things like that at the end of the project. Um, so I'd say that the connector aspect is different, and the way that we record information, index it, and make it searchable, not just within one project but across project is something that doesn't exist in ACC.
So you mentioned these connectors. Maybe it's because I'm visual, but I'd be curious to know exactly see what you mean by that. Does it mean, for example, connecting Revit to Excel or
Right.
to the Newforma platform? Is that about right? How does that work?
Yeah, so I'll show some examples
Okay,
of that. And,
good.
and when I say we don't compete with Autodesk, we really don't because we actually connect with Autodesk, right, on
Uh-huh,
many
yeah, yeah.
fronts. So one
Uh-huh.
of our connector is with ACC and build, like we got the Autodesk Docs connectivity for DMS. So we can access files and share files that are actually stored on ACC, right? If you get a model you want to share or things like that. And then we also connect with their authoring system, with Revit, with AutoCAD, with Civil 3D. And then we also connect with Navisworks, right? So we've got a wide spread set of connectors in the Autodesk ecosystem. So again, we're not really competing. We're augmenting, some of the things they do, and filling in some gaps. So that's kind of how I like to think about our platform. So if I had to put like a, like if like from a feature set perspective, of course, when you look at this way, right, there's a lot of like overlap because we cover punch lists and constructability reviews, design review workflows, action items, email management. Our Microsoft Teams chat tool is coming up too, right? R5 submittals, document control, contract change management. This is all provided in Connect these days today, right? Together with the BIM viewer, 2D, 3D, both at the same time and all of it. So when you look at our document management layer, I like to think about ourselves more as an open CDE in a way, right? So even though there is file storage capabilities, this is not what provide value for our customers. What provide value is our ability to access files in multiple locations at the same time. Their file server, Autodesk, and SharePoint. So you can see everything in one place. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to switch to our platform and then I'm gonna show you our file manager, right? So that's kind of like what I call the kind of open CDE, right? So when you land in there, you can actually add data source, right? So here I've got a file server connected, so that's on-prem data that if you're an architecture firm and you've got servers in your closet, this is it, right? We can access that. You've got your data on SharePoint, right? So I can log into my SharePoint, and let's say you've got things you've got things in there like Word documents and um, things that you're collaborating on, Microsoft file extensions. You can add, let's say you've you want to add Autodesk, right? And you're going to see all of those displayed in the same location. So that's really the power of our connectors, right? So when you want to share things, you can share things from SharePoint, you can share things from Autodesk Docs, you can share things from all of those locations, bundle it, send it over to someone, set retention policies. So after a certain amount of time, for security reasons, the link, is expired, it becomes expired, so it doesn't continue to float in the web, the World Wide Web forever with drawings and things that might cause issues for your business down the road. So really that ability to navigate, through those different locations all together in the same spot.
So what I'm hearing in a way is that uh, you can connect your local servers, like different sources of information, instead of, let's say that you work solely on ACC, you're kind of forced to put things on their cloud.
Right.
But with this, you can have multiple sources and more easily share. Do I get about that right?
Yeah, exactly. And then when you're sharing things, like you can, it creates it, it's creating that zip file, and then you've got, things in your bundle here in your package, and you want to record it, right? You've sharing that externally. It could be a proof, down the road that you've shared something with someone that says, no, I haven't received it, right? And I've installed the concrete curb has been poured on the job site as per the drawings I receive, and these ones, that version, I haven't received it. Well, with Konekt, we record everything. So once you've shared it, it becomes part of something called a sharing center. So you've got all those issuance in the project. They may be coming from doc control, from official documents published. It could be coming from our file manager or a different source like SharePoint or ACC. And then those links can expire if you decide so, right? But you can go back in time and have access to those specific revisions that were shared all together in a single spot without having to go through a list of like folders and subfolders and figure out in the history if something was shared or not, right? So you can imagine when you're getting you're getting sued at the end of the project, and you're kind of like scratching your head like, where and when did I send that file over, right? And then now you have to search through all your different repositories of information and figure out where it is.
I have actually been there. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you've been there, you know the pain,
Yeah.
right? So we make it easy for them. So that's part of the audit trail that we keep, when sharing information outside the organization.
Hmm.
But beyond that, we also have the, advanced document control. So when you're looking at okay, files and drawings within folders and subfolders, again, it can be complex to understand, what's the status of our latest document, right? So that is a single kind of flat list of all the sheets in your project. So it might be different sets, architecture, structure. Those are populated, they're coming from Revit, for instance, with our Revit add-in. The purpose of document control is also for compliance. Compliance with ISO 19650 and standards where you have eventually naming conventions to match, right? And even before you create the drawings on the project, you may have kind of an index of or a series of placeholder sheets, right? So you're intending to issue drawings in the series 100, 200, 300. So you can create those placeholders, and as the document come in, you tie them with the placeholders, and then the status evolve from draft to issued, and you can perform design review around that. So let's see, if you want to issue drawings from there, then you will select your drawings here. You click again share, and then you can say this is like 30% schematic design, for instance, right? And then you can put a remark, and then when you hit share, it create a copy of those specific revisions, add them in the sharing center, freeze and keep a copy, an historical record, for those issuance.
Is the sharing center something new? I see it says beta next to it.
Yeah, we actually just released that before
Okay.
Christmas. It was our Christmas present for
Christmas
our
gift.
customers. Yeah.
Yeah, to help solve lawsuits. Nice
Yeah.
Christmas gift.
So one of our next features coming up is our Microsoft Teams connector, because what we've seen is for years
Yeah.
we were managing emails, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I think about emails, it's like, there's emails flying over, in your inbox. You've got emails that are relating to multiple projects. potentially at the end of the project, you can be reassigned, or during the project, you're reassigned to a different project. Well, guess what? The next project manager coming in, or the next architect coming in on the project, they will have to catch up from where you left off, right? So if you do have a proper project-based email record, they can search from that. So the way this works in our system, and then this is also very useful for, just gonna switch to my inbox here, right? But this is very useful also for BIM, right? So I'm gonna give some examples. You receive an email. This email here, often people create folders in their inbox and Outlook, and then they drag and drop, those email and try to sort them by project. And at the end of project, it's a bit of a nightmare with the IT team trying to figure out how to back up that information and store it on was a DVD or a CD back then, right? So I guess now with the growth of data, people are looking at hard drives and creating backups in the cloud, but it's still very time consuming. So we simplify that creation of project records. So we go there. Okay, so there is this email I just got for the car dealer project, and there's a bunch of action items in there. First thing I can do, I can use our Connect add-in for Outlook, right? So I can file the email as an email in the project. So when I file the email in the project, it's landing into a shared inbox where my internal team members can access and search information, and again, benefit from the deep search and indexing functionalities we have. I can say also, well, I want to file that as an issue or an action item, right? So that's where it's becoming very interesting, because let's say I'm a BIM manager, right? So I'm a BIM manager, I've got my inbox, and often, we try to use, issue tracking and log task, somewhere, but sometimes it's, there's still screenshots sent in emails, for instance, right? Like this one here, where I had to modify something in the model because the slab edge is in the wrong location, right? So I got this screenshot from the drawing, which is, actually in Revit, right? So, okay, I need to solve that. So how do I do that? How do I track that this is getting solved? What I can do, I just, can take that screenshot from the 3D model, right? And I can say, I'm going to file it as an issue. So I'm going to log that right here. So it's taking all the content of the email, who sent it, the description, the image, and it's transferring that in Newforma Konekt, right? So now if I go back to Konekt, what I'm actually going to see when I go under action items right here is that email coming in, right? So I'm going to see, okay, this is the slab edge. So now I might want to, add precision or, a location for that. So I can see my email in the 3D model, right? So I can jump to our viewer and I can say, okay, well, this is the email right here, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn on a bunch of structural models, right? And then I'm going to, okay, look at the slab edge, right? So now that email I see there, right? So that's the content of the email I got, who I got it from, the email, the description, right? And I can say, well, this was right here, right? And I can add a location for that specific issue and locate the email inside the 3D model. So I can say add localized viewpoint and then click here. So this is where my email is in the 3D environment. So I went from taking an email that's disconnected for the model and relating that to a space inside a 3D model. So that's for, yep.
It means that if you have a project manager that doesn't like technology and just keeps using the old way of sending screenshots by email,
you can bring it back in context.
You could do their job and try to make whatever request is in by email a bit more systematic and create a systematic issue out of it.
Right. And if they get access to that, then when I do add this viewpoint, and that screenshot from the 3D model, they can see that I've fixed it, right? And they will receive a notification by email with a 3D screenshot that shows the problem resolved, right?
So what is this viewer?
So that viewer is actually our viewer. So we built that ground up. So
is it based on the IFCs?
It is based on IFCs and PDFs, right? So currently, like I'm giving an example with a 3D model, right? But if I want, I can navigate on 2D documents, right? So if I turn on the first floor plan here, well, I'm switching to 2D mode. So when you're raising issues there, those are kind of smart PDF, right? So they know where to look it in space. So I can create an issue on the staircase, and then I can see that in 3D and vice versa, right? So they're one to one scale. So when we publish those from Revit, you can actually see that in both 2D and 3D at the same time. So if you turn on 3D, then now you've got both displayed. You've got 2D and 3D, right? So it really can help if you've got, let's say, you're receiving drawings, shop drawings, or installation drawings from subs, and you want to overlay that with the model from the designers, the design intent model, right? So you could imagine what sort of discrepancies you can see from those things, right? Well, the duct was supposed to be installed here, and then the sub, I've manufactured it, and here's the drawing for installation, right? And it's at a different spot. So you can compare the 2D drawings with a 3D model. You can find those potential issues before things are installed on the job site. So we've seen some of our customers using it this way, or sometimes just augmenting the 3D with grid line location and things like that to help understand what we're looking at and what we're talking about.
Is this part the evolution of BIM Track?
So that's been there since 2019. I think like what we're augmenting now is that we've got some broader file management capabilities, right? So like the access to those other EDMS platforms that you often find on projects. Models are stored on ACC, and then you've got often Word files used for writing specifications on projects, which are also required to be issued. They're on SharePoint, so we're connecting further, with those things, and then we're adding the contract changes, right? Supplemental instructions, proposal requests, construction change directives. So we've got a whole workflow system built around that to track potential changes to contract. And then the submittals and the RFIs and the connector with Procore. So with those modules, like designers don't have to go in Procore to download the RFIs and the information. They just come here and they show us pending, right? So from there they can initiate their workflow, and then once they're ready, only the official information is sent back to the GC, but keeping all the project history and the project record and the relationship, because often those submittals and those RFI, when it's not Procore, they're coming through email, right? So let's say you've got a contractor that's using a Trimble Viewpoint, right? So that's their construction management platform. So designers, they receive an email saying you've been assigned to this RFI, botting court. This is your botting court, right? So now what do you do from there? Well, you're gonna take an Excel spreadsheet. You're gonna have a register of all the RFIs you've answered. Well, that's the status quo, right? That's how people still do it these days. The designers have to keep a record of that, and they do it in Excel, and it's very time consuming because of duplicated data entries. With our AutoCAD, they can just file the email and then log it as an RFI.
What is the most popular feature among users on the whole platform? Is there something that stands out and that users to tell you they appreciate the most?
Yeah, so I guess you're talking about the BIM Track back then, or you're talking about Project Center or
in this current version, it could be with BIM Track too. But I was
so with it.
Yeah.
I'd say for this current version, I think because of the legacy BIM Track customers, issue tracking is still the top used functionality in the system, because you think about it, action items can be anything. It could be a task, it could be a site defect on the job site through our mobile app, because we also have all those functionalities this available on our mobile app, right? It could be health and safety issues on a job site if you're a GC. It could be a BIM modeling issue, right? So let's say you're a BIM coordinator and you're reviewing the quality of the BIM model and you're flagging things that are modeled in the wrong spot. You can log that in here because of our connectors with Revit right here, where you can kind of raise issues.
So that's the old BIM Track interface that I know.
Right here. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that the add-ins haven't changed much, right, in the last year or so, but those functionalities are now connected of a much broader ecosystem of functionality, a much more comprehensive platform that includes many other functionalities. So BIM being a subset of our project record, obviously, because all those action items, whether you're a BIM manager, a BIM coordinator, or someone just managing clashes in Navisworks, we've got those add-ins with all the softwares that people use, and then everything, all the action items are stored in one spot where you can actually track the coordination performance on the project. Right, you're looking at how many issues do I have open, how many issues do I have closed. Right, you can very easily understand the state of the project, so with all the reporting functionalities, but also with our Power BI connectors. So I was talking about connectors, right? So that if you want to go further, we've got templates and a data analytics as a service kind of solution that comes built, out of the box with the solution.
Can you show, let's say that someone is a complete beginner in terms of issue tracking, and it's interesting to know what is the one-on-one steps to create an issue. Can you show how that would
Yeah,
go in Revit?
yeah,
Or,
absolutely.
or
So
where, or do people typically start in Revit to create the issue, or they would use the web platform?
right. So usually, like, we've got some users that are working solely in Revit, right? They don't use anything else, and their entire workflow is just like working on the design, right? Evolving the design from early stage to construction documents. We see users using it from the very early stage, it's schematic design, just massing and things like that, all the way to the final issuance for construction. So from there, the workflow was pretty simple. You install the add-in, and then you connect it with create a project, and then from there you can log issues, right? There's different ways to log issues. You can localize an issue, we call it, like, which is basically pinpointing an issue. You can create an issue from the current screen, or if you've got some saved views you'd like to bulk upload as issues, that's also an option. So I'm just going to use localize issue here, and then now it's asking you to pinpoint the location, right? So that location, I'm gonna take, let's say there's an issue with the rebar in that footing, right? So I'm just gonna click there, and then what it's gonna do, it's gonna pinpoint the issue, and then you can give it a title, right? I'm gonna say rebar uh, issue in the footing, right? And then you can put a description. You don't have to. Those fields can be mandatory, but they're not mandatory out of the box. We provide annotation tools through your preferred
Is that MS?
annotation tool.
Is that MS Paint?
That's MS Paint.
Wow. Okay.
But you can replace it for your default if you got something else in Windows and you want
Uh-huh.
Bluebeam, or you want any other PDF or image editor. You can replace it just by changing the settings there. And then from there, you can assign it, so I'm just going to assign it to someone. They receive email notifications, set the purity, the zone, disciplines, all sorts of metadata, and due date also, which will send you reminders to, address the issue. And then you can publish, and that's it. Like, this is going straight into the platform. It is instantly available for people working, and then it created that kind of like location marker right here in 3D, which you can use for, if you print a drawing, you can see the issue locations printed on the drawing, right? And then instantly you can go in different piece of software like Navisworks, or in our web platform when you publish the models in there, right? So you'll see, okay, that rebar issue, view in model, and then that brings you to the exact same location, right? So we're looking at the footing, the rebar issue in the footing right there. So that's kind of the cross-platform communication functionality we have, and works between software versions of the same software and across multiple pieces, including our web viewer.
So I'm really curious about that family that it creates at the corner. What is that? It's kind of a sphere that there are parameters that are linked to the issue.
Yeah, exactly. So you can report on that. You could create a schedule, for instance, and you could report on the issues that are inside the model. Those are meant to be temporary objects, and when you save to central, they're deleted, and then you can generate back those pinpoints on the fly by showing what we call clash pinpoints.
Okay, they're temporary.
So
They're deleted when you sync.
yeah, so if you
Okay.
hit save or sync, they get deleted, and then after that you can retrieve them by just clicking on the feature right here.
I see. So let's take some questions we've got from Ayobami. Revit currently does not have a good unified way of creating FFE schedules with 2D and 3D information updating in one place. What is Konect's solution to that?
I don't think we tackled that problem specifically, right? So I guess our solution is no solution.
Not yet. Not as of
Not
now.
yet.
All right, no problem. So you've assigned the issue in Revit. We could see it in BIM Track in Navisworks as well, and then I guess you could also see it on the viewer for someone that doesn't have any of these licenses.
Exactly. So we're like one of the reason why we built the web viewer in the first place is to democratize access to BIM for all, right? So we know that often on projects like there's silos a little bit, right? You've got project managers and potentially principals in the firm that don't have access to a Revit license and they don't know how to go in there, and they were probably afraid of breaking the model, right? To be fair. So our goal was to provide easy access. In a couple of clicks, people can see the latest version of the design, right? So one of our great functionality is we can keep that design alive and updated on a regular basis. So we've got an automated publisher that can publish things, on the regular basis, like it can be overnight. And it makes the latest version of the design accessible for those people to comment and then, raise concerns and those sort of things. So it's an easy way for them to engage and get their foot in the BIM space without knowing too much about how to open a Revit model and not break the central file, right?
Yeah. All right. So what features are you working on these days? So I know you just released that sharing center information. Other
Right.
big pieces you're trying to tackle.
So we're working on ERP connectors, more specifically with Deltek. We're also about to release our Microsoft Teams connector because we have seen a shift in how people communicate, right? I think COVID really changed a lot of things. Like people have started to adopt more Microsoft Teams as a chat tool. As a result, decisions are made in there, and the problem that a lot of our customers face, and I'm gonna take the example with one of our engineering customers in Canada, they just save $100,000 in a lawsuit because they were able to find that the general contractor gave them a thumbs up in Microsoft Teams on a file that they shared with them after a meeting,
So you got to be
right?
careful with the emojis that you send through Teams, right? It could make a difference in the lawsuit.
Right. So when this happened, the customer is using our on-prem solution, which already has a Microsoft Teams connector, right? So
Mm.
they had a project archive of the conversation happening in Teams, and that's how they were able to fight back. And they said, no, you actually received that file, and you actually gave me a thumbs up. And the court later recognized a thumbs up as a yes. And then that's it, right? That's the
Wow.
story.
Hmm.
So I think technology is great. I've always been a promoter of technology, right? But as technology patterns change and the usage patterns change in the way that people communicate in your firm, it can expose you to some pretty serious challenges like that, right? So how do you keep the information in the project record? That's the answer we're providing with our Microsoft Teams connector. So it's just next to the email, you're gonna see a new thing called communications, and then you'll be able to link a Teams chat with your project there, and you'll be able to search through all your chat, happening, and use that, search decisions made, find information that you're exchanging with your coworkers. Oh yeah, we had this conversation. Where was it? Was it an email? Was it Teams? Well, you'll be able to search all of that in one spot. Just like that, you're gonna go and then you're gonna say searching for door. Oh yeah, it was in R files, in project files, on SharePoint. Oh yeah, also in action items, right? Oh, I see emails related to that, and then you're gonna be able to see your Microsoft Teams chat in there.
Hmm. So yeah, I get it. So it's true that Teams conversation can be, or Slack conversation even can be part of the official records.
Right. And beyond that, like you just let's say there is a bunch of BIM people collaborating on a 3D model, right? Let's just take that as an example. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're sharing information in Teams on that's where you're chatting with your coworkers, right? And you said, oh yeah, he told me which family to use, right? I just don't remember. Well, you'll be able to go in there, and if you've linked the Microsoft Teams with the project, then you'll be able to search from there.
So at a couple of previous Autodesk University conferences, the big keynote talk was all about AI, and specifically that you could use AI to search to your entire database of projects, and it would be helpful and would remove some of that pain. Is that something you're exploring as well?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the projects that we have lined up is about email filing, right? So I mean, a lot of people, a lot of people wish that emails have disappeared many years ago. But when I look at statistics and the growing project archives that our customers have, it's easy to notice that emails are not going away anytime soon, unfortunately. And because of the complexity of project, there's even more emails than there were 10 years ago. So I think I think about us providing a solution for helping to organize emails into those project records, right? So and then link it back with the rest of the context of the project. So one of the AI functionality that we're developing is the ability to recognize which project is related to that email, filing the email in the project, but also filing it into the right activity center, right? So email as an R5, this email as a submittal, or this email contains multiple action items, it will do that automatically. It will create those action items. It will file the email as an R5, file the email as a submittal. So that's kind of automating the sorting and assigning of that email to someone if an action item needs to be taken, but also not relying on people to do that job, right? Because if they miss 50% of the emails and they don't record it into the project, guess what? That's exposing your firm to legal issues at the end.
Yeah, so I guess with AI as well for search, if you have the entire database, you could search, you could query. Can you tell me when I did talk about this kind of door and when I gave the order to change and so on, right?
Yeah, exactly. And because we're also indexing very all the information very deep inside the content of the file, our search has the the capability. Like I mean, it will be the most advanced search that we can find when we do roll out AI in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So looking at the question John asked, can you link from with Procore? That's one of your connector. That's what you mentioned, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Procore, like Newforma is the number one app in the Procore marketplace.
Right, right.
So that's a very strong partnership we have at Procore. We were at their groundbreak event last fall. That's a customers really excited about the efficiency and how we can cut RFI turnaround time in half with our connector, making the workflow more efficient between designers and general contractors. So yeah, same thing for submittals. So a lot of people are very happy about again saving a couple of days on RFI responses. That makes a big difference for the schedule of the project.
What is the cost? Is everything bundled together or you can buy specific modules? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's a per license, per user license kind of basis. Usually contracts are negotiated on a 12-month basis. There's different tiers. So if you go on our website, you'll find there is more information about our packages, right? So if you go under Connect here, yeah, there's the BIM Track offering, which used to be the name of our BIM module. Right now, it's offered as a subscription. So that's issue tracking, the BIM viewer, all the add-ons we've looked at with Revit, Navisworks, Civil 3D, AutoCAD, and so on, and our VR connectors. With Enscape, I think Enscape was on one of your BIM Pure lately, right?
That's right. Yeah, remember that. Yeah,
Right.
it
So
was
we
one
do
of the feature of the week that it was linked with the BIM track.
right? So one of our good partnership with Enscape, is available in there. And then we've got Comms Track, which is adding email management, and then our upcoming Microsoft Teams connector, and then CA Track, which is all the contract administration, RFIs, submittals, contract change management functionalities, and then Enterprise, which also include BI and analytics and things like that. So those are the subscription available. They all have different price point, and there's a very extensive list of functionalities that you can look at on the website here, newforma.com.
So sorry, maybe I missed it. You just said it, but does it work like a per user, or is it like a kind of a bundle, a minimum bundle of like 20 users that you have to get?
So usually, like you would go like it starts I think around 25 users, and it can go all the way to enterprise with thousands of users. So so you basically purchase a bundle of users. We choose which subscriptions you'd like to purchase, and then the subscription kind of govern the functionalities inside the hub, which is basically a workspace, right? So that workspace can have unlimited amount of projects. So it's not really on a per project; it's really a per organization. Organization centric kind of subscription.
Okay, and so I see some feature. I don't know if you agree or not. Maybe some of them are more tailored to a larger organization, and maybe some of them are more adapted to smaller firms. Let's say that you're a small or medium firms. I know there's a lot of them watching in the audience. Maybe like a 10-people firm doing multifamily housing or that kind of stuff. So how can they get started? What is the best way to try these Newforma tools?
Yeah. So I guess it really depends where you're coming from, right? So because if you're working on a small project, single family house, maybe you're not working with BIM at all, right? So in this case,
yeah, it's more, but I just know small to medium firm, let's say they're using Revit, they're using BIM, but they're not necessarily using these higher level apps, but maybe they want to do more of issue tracking.
Yeah. So in this case, if you're working on a high-rise kind of residential projects that you would make a good use of the platform with the BIM Track subscription to start with. Very easy. Task management, logging the issues, logging the comments of your team as you're commenting the design, logging those issues. When you're performing design reviews, right, you've got, let's say, someone a little bit more senior in your team, you're creating drawings, they have to comment. Well, instead of doing redlining on a printed PDF, right, and handing it over to you, and you're trying to figure out, where those things are in the model, well, why don't they just go in there and they start, clicking on the locations on the PDF or on the 3D model, and then when you're Revit, in a single click, you can access the location, solve the issue, move on to the next, solve the issue, move on to the next, right? Instead of playing hide and seek, with the issues that are on PDF and trying to find the right view to solve it in Revit. So that's probably a starting point, and then
the first the lower tier BIM Track subscription. I think I was scrolling the website. It was like, it still says BIM Track, but that's for one of the subscription packages.
Exactly, we kept the name in there. That's legacy.
Yeah, that's kind of a vintage. Yeah. Okay, we'll soon put an end to the show. Any other last feature that you really wanted to showcase?
Yeah,
or
I think we've covered, we probably scratched the surface here quickly, but really, I think, one of the most used feature is still, our email functionality, right? So I talk about the shared inbox, right? This is where your emails land, right? They don't remain in your inbox and they die, over there. So again, if you're searching for something there, right? Well, it found door, not just in the name of the files, but, it also found door in the content of files. That's really powerful. You see here, we extracted all the text inside that PDF. But you see, just the power of searching for statistics, on how much time architects, engineer spend per week searching for information. That's about 10 to 25%
searching, trying to find the correct file.
Find the correct file, the correct communication, the correct decision, the correct specs, the correct technical data sheet, whatever it is.
It drives me crazy. So many people are still using WeTransfer to send files, and it drives me completely nuts because it's not a good way to do it.
That's a really, really good way to end today's show. I think, WeTransfer, there is probably, file size restrictions there. there is probably like, I don't know if it does expire or not, right?
Yeah, it
So if
does.
you're
Yeah, it does.
so and then once you've sent it out, can you track who actually downloaded the file? And the answer is probably no, right? And then, but
Hmm.
we do that. We do that. So if you say, if you share something through our system, something on your SharePoint, something on your ACC, it will actually record the document, freeze that copy in the sharing center, manage the expiration, and then if you click on the file, you'll be able to see who actually downloaded the file, right? Again, very important if you're running through some legal issues at the end of the project to have that history and see who actually downloaded the file, just like that right here, right? Tom actually downloaded the file. So imagine this is a
Yeah.
GC, right? Or imagine
Yeah,
this is a
this is
sub.
good to know. This is good.
Yeah.
And then if you're an architect and the contractor is like, you need to send these documents by Friday, else it's the end of the world. And then 1 month later, you realize they even don't know the files.
Yeah,
I
and
know
they're like,
that
oh
happens a
well,
lot.
and they're like, oh well, we're late because you haven't sent the files on time. Yeah, actually, I did. Like this is the proof, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you can see that they didn't actually download them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things to mention before we end this. Uh, First, Bird Tools, thanks for sponsoring this episode of BIM Pure Live. And check out the tag alignment tool. There's a link and codes that you can check in the video description. And next week, no, in 2 weeks, that's in 2 weeks from now. Last week, no show. It's BIM Digital Transformation and BIM at Iterwick by Alfonso Monedero. That should be fun. And else, subscribe to the Kickstart 5 free newsletter sent every Monday morning with 5 interesting things in the world of BIM and AC Tech and architecture, created by myself. Fresh into your inbox to start your week with excitement and fresh ideas. Back to you, Carl. Thanks. That was super interesting. I know more about what Newforma does. I'll be honest, it was kind of a mystery to me. I'm familiar with BIM Track and what it does, and I've heard of BIM. And it's like I'm not exactly sure what all the features are. So now I know more.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Nick, and until next time, I guess.
All right. Thanks for everyone for watching live, and see you in 2 weeks with Alfonso. Bye, everyone.
Cheers.